Saw this earlier. John Wilner of the Wilner Hotline put out a settlement, part of the agreement between the two teams, Oregon State, Washington State, and the 10 departing schools. And you see Brandon Marcello on the top. That's the part that kind of makes all the other stuff, wraps it up in a bow. Those two, Oregon State, Washington State, will receive a total of $65 million in payments from the departing 10 schools, according to the settlement, which is below with what John Wilner put underneath his own timeline. That's a pretty nice chunk of money. What did you say, though, in the break, Paul? $65 million.
$65 million. That'll keep them each going for another year, and then it's gone. I mean, then their payments go down again.
That doesn't include the college football playoff, which went up to $3.5 million, even though it used to be $6 million, but was $350,000.
Look, if most of us got a $65 million divorce settlement, we'd be fine. We'd be, off living in a vacation home and living the rest of our life. The thing is they've got to take this money, split between the two of them, and fund their athletic department with it. Mm-hmm. And, so they've got, another 2 years of being able to fund their school like a Power 5 school like they used to. But then once that 2 years is up, that's when the plan has to take effect as to what's going to be next.
Unless there's more crazy when it comes to realignment, then all of a sudden they are available to somebody else.
Yeah, if that turns out that way, where the ACC is suddenly looking for schools because they've already made the move out west, and those two would make some sense. I know there's long been the Big 12 speculation, but there's not really been anything substantial outside of they're hosting swimming in Washington. That's a sign that they're going to go grab these two schools, or at least reading into that way. Outside of that, there's really been no reason to believe that that's, heating up or just around the corner. I know there's various legal things that are part of this too, where you can't, it's like, there was the talk about, we can't technically move till later on this summer, and then you got to get to the certain point of the negotiations and the settlements, and just there's a lot of up in the air. And so before even moving to the conference, they had this business to settle, and their business with their old mates to settle even further. And now we've got some details, and now we've got some of that happening. So that's good. It's one less thing to worry about, one more thing settled if you're those two schools, but also the departing schools as well. And I think it's great that Oregon State and Washington State are going to have this money to operate with, and then whatever comes via the NCAA tournament, as you said, and the college football playoff, and that's not going to be everlasting, but it is a nice nest egg to try and build off of and build with. And, what are their plans? I think we're still wondering that. I think they're probably still wondering that. Is it the best situation for them moving forward to try and rebuild? Is there a lifeline coming from the ACC or from the Big 12? We know it's not going to be coming from the Big 10 or the SEC, but is there something we're not thinking of? I don't know. Their options seem to be out there on the table, but they're in a much better position than we originally thought based on the payouts that they're getting. And I did see, though, a lot of show me the money and a lot of dunking on Oregon fan or whatever. And I've seen a few knowing what you know now, would you still have left USC and every single Utah, four corner schools, and every single one of them are yeah, we still would have left because this doesn't guarantee anything. What station are you playing on next year? The Mountain West channels is what you're playing on based on it. So yeah, it's a nice victory, but how much of a does this battle turn into winning a war ultimately? I think we're still a long ways from knowing that exactly for Oregon State and Washington State, but we want to see them be able to have their programs fully operational and have a seat at the table as well. But we also know at the same time that there is a tightening of the rope on this whole Division I college football enterprise. And are they, unfortunately, those first in schools that are suddenly out? Are they the first of more to come? Are they out for just the time being and will be back in soon? I mean, that's the stuff that we don't have any clue on right now, but they're balancing right on that line of teetering one way or the other. And right now they're teetering towards being those that are getting excluded first, but we'll see with what they're able to do with this cash and any arrangements that might come in the future.
It's a hell of a lot more than they probably thought. Maybe even more than the departing schools thought they would have to continue to give up, at least for $5 million more. And they seem to kind of have this little parachute. And good for them, because all hell broke loose for those two. Just like it's almost broken loose for a lot of others that all of a sudden looked around and went, oh, my God, what are we going to do? Well, they've gotten this is a 2-year, Paul, you're right, about a 2-year parachute and maybe better news. And again, we don't know. Now, on the expansion of the